With so much going on in the world, it's really easy for us to just let our minds go haywire and have this very negative outlook on life. The thing is, we are just becoming aware of these things. There's always been bad things going on in the world, but there's also always been really good things going on in the world. It's a matter of the perspective you're looking from. There has been no time that I've seen in my lifetime that there's been so much desire for really deep spirituality. Now, there's been little pockets here and there of people and great teachers that have come out of the woodwork over over the generations, but never has there been so many people that are so connected together with internet and all these things where the education and the wisdom can just come out. Now, joining these things is a different beast, and having a consistent set of principles that we can join together and agree upon is something that I think would be beneficial, and it would require discernment. So there's discernment is knowing something, right? A belief is one thing. Beliefs change. Beliefs change all the time. And if your beliefs don't change, haven't changed since you were a kid, then how much have you really examined your belief system and what you were taught? Questioning things is a necessity, right? So even on this platform, I encourage you guys to question my outlook so that we can have a dialogue and we can end up creating a greater spiritual awareness, a greater intellectual spiritual awareness. So the first thing would be a principle of a hermetic principle called cause and effect, right? Most of us start out living our lives as an effect, right? So we're kids, we do what our parents tell us to do, we are responding, we are reactive to their desires for the most part. And then as we grow up, if we continue to stay in that type of mentality, then we are reactive to all of our situations. This would be phrases like things are happening to me, right? And when things happen to me, then I have no control. It's out of my control, essentially being an effect. If we can switch our focus to thinking that there is no coincidence in the world, even though our minds can't track it, just because our minds can't track all the previous events that led to this point doesn't mean that there wasn't a scientific explanation that led us to this point. And if we can get our minds around that, now we have given ourselves back the power, and we can become the cause instead of the effect. Now we are proactive instead of reactive. And a little caveat, just because something is spiritual doesn't mean that there isn't a scientific explanation. In fact, it has to be that way. Our God is a scientific God. There is no separation from the manifested physical realm and the etheric spiritual realm. It's all the same thing. One is just more condensed matter than the other. If we can think about it that way, then there is always that explanation. And there, if you look at technology, if somebody saw some of our technology, I'm talking to you on a screen. Years ago, this would be considered some kind of magic, right? But now, since we have an understanding that these things are scientifically based, then we can agree that it's not magic. Well, how far can that go? What about 1,000 years from now? It's the same thing. Just because we can't track the events that have led us up to this point doesn't mean that they aren't part of our responsibility. And that's where the principle of free will comes into play. Now, I can either continue down the path of not wanting to take responsibility, and that's exercising my free will to just stay stagnant and live in a metaphorical hell, or I can take action to the extent that my abilities go. And then once I do that, then I can start to see changes over time. This isn't to say that we're going to immediately be free of those mental impulses. It's very unlikely that that is the case. And depending on your upbringing and your background, it can be tougher for others on certain things. But all of us have our own set of struggles, our own mental world that we are living in. And the more and more we can become the cause of the effect, the more and more we can be proactive, the more and more we can see things materialize. And it's in that being that cause that we get the power to not give up. It's going into like the hero's journey where we are not going to take no for an answer. We're going to continue on this no matter what. I'm going to see this play out. I'm going to succeed. And failure after failure, you're coming back and you're trying again. Failure after failure, you're coming back and trying again. And now the failure becomes practice. And as you practice, you get more confident. You create this I don't care if I fail attitude, which is a lot of things that we struggle with. We struggle with, as most of society struggles with, failing at something, not being the best right off the bat. Well, when we continue down the cause route, then it's not, I'm just not good at this. It's not, this is just my personality. It's not, this is the financial crisis that I was born into. It's not the government in power that's doing something wrong. It ends up becoming, I'm going to do what I can with what I have in order to get to where I want to go. And then we start to see divine synchronicities happen. And this is something that is just completely amazing. And it's something called the reticular activating system, the RAS, in our brains. And it ends up narrowing our focus so we can see all these things, but we miss what we're not looking for. So, for example, if we're playing the punch buggy game, right? People who grew up around the time I did, we played the punch buggy game when we ride in the car because we didn't have tablets and phones and stuff. So we grew up playing the punch buggy game, and it's when you spot a Volkswagen Beetle, then you get to punch your sibling in the car or whatever. So before you started playing that game, you saw no Volkswagen Beetles. As soon as you start playing it, you start seeing them everywhere, and you start getting bruises all over your arms. Well, it's the same thing with any other kind of awareness. If we're looking for good and we're constantly focused on looking for good, we're going to see good. But if we're focused on looking for bad, we're going to continue to see bad. And it takes some time to consistently want to see good, and it won't always be the case. But if you can continuously bring your awareness back, pratyahara, single pointedness, bringing your mind back to doing your best to see good, it will appear more and more. See success, it will appear more and more. And that's kind of what I want to leave it at today, is being the cause, accepting your responsibility as the cause. It's just like that Spider-Man quote, with great power comes great responsibility. Well, you can flip that on its head, and with great responsibility comes great power. Being the cause and seeing the effects that you being a cause has, seeing the effects that you taking complete responsibility can do for your life and for your family. And then in that cause, being aware of your reticular activating system. If you tend to see a lot of negative, let that be your quick reminder that, oh, let me look for the good. And because that's going to be our default, whatever our default is can then be like just a dinger bell. Whenever we see, oh, it's so much bad, wait, what's good? So then you can just start to narrow that focus onto it. And I hope that helps. If you have any questions or want to hear any topics, then just comment down in the comment section. All right, thanks.